Good evening on this Friday, June 24th, 2022. The time is 11:14 p.m. and welcome to Early in the AM with Isha. So after I did the Roe versus Wade entry this morning, earlier today, I watched a little bit of President Joe Biden's address speaking on that this isn't the last straw, and he's going to take measures to make sure that, we have our rights, that we can still live our lives uninterrupted. And I think that's noble. I think that's great. It's a great assurance for what life has to be in the moments where we don't have to be creative about our safety or creative about our rights in the cracks. You know what I mean? In the specific special areas, not the generality of life, but in those special areas. Is the cyclicalness, the reciprocity of American law is something to really think about. You know what I mean? Like the entitlement of women is such a freedom thing, but there are only prominent points of womanhood that always stand the test of time. And unfortunately, we have to share that prominence with one another, regardless of gender or sex or race. There's a prominent point in womanhood that we have to share with men who become transgender, become women with women who still have femininity, but they decide that their sexuality procreates them into men, and we still have to share that same prominence with them. It's almost like everybody's sharing the same toy. It's like, okay, it's your turn to play with the toy, and then we have to sit happily while they have this. The air of the nation. They're the pulse of the world. Watching them, guide the pulse along. Just like passing the torch, almost. We just wait patiently for our turn to get it back. I mean, such things you can't be greedy about. You don't want to be so fractal, and everybody with all the freedoms, that things come so fractal and so pure that there's no distinction. And then we fight for distinction, and then we're on our separatists, and then here we go again. Back in our statehood, and states making rights, and the government having to let them, do what they have to do, and us, kind of sitting patiently in this place that we call happiness. It's watching I don't know if he's a rapper or entertainer or an athlete. He was saying he just wants to be happy all the time. He just wants to be around people that make him happy. And I totally agree. Happiness is a place. It is also a very rapidly, nonstop, current thing. People say happiness means joy. It does, but happiness also means happening. Like, it happens. Like, I'm happy means the thing is within the moment with me. It's on my spot in the now, and it's in the correct place. That's what we assume happiness is. We ride that current, we choke it, we grab it right in the throat, and I'm happy. And we do things to it till it makes this jerking reaction that they call smiling. Laughing, joy, peace. I think when we separate happiness from the happenstance, from what it means, we tend to find ways to not make that error of confusing, happiness and misery, happiness and pain, and that's terrible. I mean, if you think that, something sweet means, oh, it's sweet because it's sugar. And you're not saying it's sweet because the thought behind it. And then we mistake sweetness only for things that contain sugar, or we narrow-mind it. Happiness is something that we can't lose sight of, because a lot of happiness will come from pain. Like, except when I learned in American exceptionalism. Exceptionalism comes from pain. It comes from not so good things. The base of it is something quite so uncomfortable, so unbearable. It can't happen in this lifetime, not with the freedoms we have. It's the freedoms that we have and our ability to take it for granted that explodes in my head what it means to, what it may have meant. to die for the thought of our freedom, for that picture head, for that throw out there that, okay, this is wrong on so many levels, but I know that maybe my children will enjoy this someday. And we're doing this right now to some extent. We're taking responsibility for it now to some extent. I get to places where I remind myself over and over again that I'm over certain things in my life, that I'm grown beyond grown measures. That's how I feel. I'm tall, I'm statuesque. I crown over myself, over my mistakes, over sometimes even over my own happiness. Why I choose very boring, solemn things just because of routine and convenience. I was watching this YouTube video, and this guy was talking about eating this. How would you feel if you had to eat the same meal every day for the rest of your life? What do you think the effect would take on your body? First thing I thought about, how nutritious is this meal? Is it just going to be a bucket of oil, or is it going to be something healthy, and then that'll transform me? And I think when we eat the same things, or we do the same routines every day, what is boring to you may be happiness to someone else. And I think the body not having to work so hard, and it gets in routine, I think you store up unexpected and what your body would burn if you did something unexpected or spontaneous. And I think you get into this groove where your comfortability is your exercise. Like your muscles are trained, and then they go into a comfortability just to do that every day. And being the way COVID, I guess, shut down everything around us, some of us got into that routine, and I'm no exception. I got into that routine where I got comfortable with being at home. And not so much when you're a teenager and your mind is racing with the adrenaline, but so much where you're in that midlife area, and you're questioning two places in your life. You're questioning where you're going and where you've been, and the two of them don't know where they stand with each other, so they try to stand in each other's place. It's like your mistakes you made when you were a teenager because you thought you were grown, and then those naive feelings try to stand in a grown place and assert, well, if you need to come back to us because we're where the party is. And I'm just like, you are standing in the wrong place in my life. You never get to stand right here. You have to stand where that decision was made, and I gotta keep separating the two. And then it's the older person in me, the one that has the wisdom, has the maturity, and is looking at the young person saying, hey, let me just step foot in the club. And I'm like, whoa. You haven't exercised an ounce of nerve in that life in decades. There's no way the two of you even remotely know each other. And if you do, it's by circumstance. It is not by action alone. I know where I come from. I know where I've been. It's a deep place. It's God, I see some of these women out here in the world, and they've made their bed, and they're succeeding in it, they're settling in it, but at the same time it's unnerving to me. Like, there's certain things that I think about if I was born, 10 years after when I was born. Like, if I was born in the 90s or in the 80s instead of the 70s, would I be that person in front of the camera showing my body to complete strangers? Would I be that person? Finding your truth is a very, what I call, exceptional thing. Pain starts, but it ends. Joy comes in and makes you feel good about yourself, makes you feel better. All right, love. I guess this is it. See you when I see you. Talk to you later.